Support for Louisiana, the state we're in, is provided by...
Every day, I go to work for Entergy.
I know customers are counting on me.
So Entergy is investing millions of dollars
to keep the lights on
and installing new technology
to prevent outages before they happen.
Together,
we power life.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
So if you're going to do something, you've got to work with other people.
Reaching across the aisle to make things work.
We are in a constant state of decarceration.
How this thrift store in Chalmette is much more than it seems.
the shortage of highly qualified teachers in classrooms, that hasn't changed.
The strain that could make the school year so challenging.
I couldn't personally understand how this guy had got me so drawn in and hooked.
Part 2 of our special report on online scammers.
Hi everyone, I'm Andre Morrow. Kara St. Cyr is out today, but has 2 major reports in this broadcast. The hottest, most humid part of the summer has jacked power bills even higher, and it appears that $150 credit from Energy isn't going to everybody who is eligible. Why, you ask? Well, the money set aside by Energy and the United Way is expected to run out. Energy says 17,000 customers applied in the first 8 hours on Wednesday, overwhelming things, so they shut down the application process. Now, keep in mind, Energy serves many more customers than that in the Southeast region, which includes Orleans, Jefferson, and surrounding parishes. Energy says if you did apply, you are not guaranteed to get the credit. So keep that in mind. Also today, Mayor Adrian Perkins of Shreveport has learned that the Supreme Court of the state has ruled in his favor, and so he can run for re-election in that race for mayor of Shreveport. Senator and Dr. Bill Cassidy joins us in studio. And in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, you may not remember, he led a group of healthcare volunteers into an abandoned Kmart. They made it a makeshift emergency facility for people who needed care in the aftermath of Katrina. So, Bill Cassidy, I ask you, if American politics was a patient and walked into your office right now, what would be your diagnosis and what would be your recommendation?
Take a deep breath. We're all suffering from a little bit of anxiety. A little bit of anxiety about what is out there. Our country is an incredibly great country, and the greatness of it comes from the American people. So we're so fixated on Washington, but the greatness of our country comes from within. So take a deep breath, calm down, maybe take a Valium.
That would be the prescription, I guess, perhaps. This week and throughout, good indications of you reaching across the aisle to make things happen where they need to happen. The Great Mississippi River Coalition, the Navigation Project was heralded this week, and you were there.
Yeah, so sometimes folks fuss because you work with other people. But if you're going to do something for your state, you can't help but notice the Democrats control the presidency, the White House, the White House, the Senate, and the House. So if you're going to do something, you've got to work with other people. I was part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which, among other things, has money going to Shreveport right now, money going to Ascension Parish. You just described the deepening of the Mississippi River Channel.
Right.
All these things are going to help our state. It is going to move our state, not just catching up with Texas in 2022, but prepare our state for 2050 so that our children and our grandchildren have a reason to stay here and not move away.
You look at insurance, post-hurricane recovery, Grand Isle having buildings that are not, they can't afford the insurance for wind insurance in some of those buildings. Plus, people are still struggling with building back after hurricanes of the past year and 2 years. What is your advice? Is there anything that can be done to help people continuously?
Absolutely. That was all part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. In the bipartisan infrastructure bill, there were billions of dollars to help mitigate flood risk, prioritizing areas of our country that flooded in the last 10 years. There's $3 billion for coastal restoration, prioritizing areas of our country hit by natural disasters in the last 6 years. Now, it's not an earmark, but you couldn't better say Louisiana than prioritizing those areas hit by natural disasters in the last 6 years. Our state just got, I think it's $120 million out of the bipartisan infrastructure bill in order to strengthen infrastructure which is coastal and which is at risk from natural disasters. Now, that bipartisan infrastructure bill, I could keep going, prepares us for 2050. And it makes our place more secure, it'll make us more prosperous, and that's why people will stay.
So it's August, you're going around the state a lot this month talking to people. What is the feedback you're getting? What are you hearing? Biggest concerns?
Yeah, people want to know, people are concerned about inflation. They're really concerned about inflation. If you go to the bigger cities, they're concerned about crime. And there's always this kind of issue of what's going on at the border. Because they have a sense that, if we can't protect our border, we can't take care of our country. And so that's kind of, pocketbook. On the other hand, they also notice that, we are deepening the Mississippi River. I work in the port system, or I'm a farmer, and all that is going to help me in some way. The internet, in the bipartisan infrastructure bill, there was about $60 billion, I think I remember, to make sure that every American has access to affordable high-speed internet.
Astonishing that many don't in Louisiana.
So in Evangeline Parish, Jennifer Verdreen is the mayor of Ville Platte, and she says that Evangeline Parish was third worst in the country in terms of a parish or county in terms of their internet access. And now they're getting a federal grant that's going to be used to build out their internet. They're going to go, as she puts it, from worst to first.
Fantastic.
Now think about what that means for Evangeline Parish. My wife says that a woman won't move to a place unless there's a good school, a good hospital, a good grocery store, and she has access to high-speed internet.
Okay.
She wants her child to get telehealth if her child needs telehealth. She wants her husband to be able to Zoom to work. She wants to watch Netflix on Saturday night, and she also may be Zooming to work.
Right.
Now, since a wife tells you where to live, that means Evangeline Parish has the ability to begin to grow once more.
Well, it's good to see you always, and Louisiana's lucky to have you going around the state, listening to concerns, and taking care of everybody, right?
Trying to.
That's what it's all about.
I have the privilege of representing the great state of Louisiana, and I'm going to try and represent everyone as well as I can.
All right, Bill, thank you.
Thank you, Andre.
The pandemic has accelerated a 50-year problem in the making. Fewer and fewer teachers. Kara St. Cyr met with Kimberly Eckert, an educator working to close this alarming employment gap. Now a look into the causes and potential solutions.
When did you get into teaching?
Oh, well, I started teaching in 2008, but I took the long way around. I was actually in social work before I was a teacher. Yes, I went to law school before I was a teacher, so it took a while, but once I got there, it was a perfect fit. And I make sort of jokes now that I've never done more social work in my entire life, and I felt that from first day on the job.
Wow, okay, so you've been teaching for a while.
Yes, I have.
So what's it been like, I guess, going from starting in 2008 to right now?
It's incredible, and honestly, like, the students make it incredible, and the fact that I'm better at my job every year makes it more and more incredible. A lot of the needs and a lot of the challenges that we see now, they're not new.
Whenever you say needs and challenges that haven't changed, what are you talking about?
So some students need teachers. Students need great teachers that are effective every day, intentionally, every single day. So we know that. That's never going to change. The fact that we know that certain schools or certain areas are under-resourced, that has not changed. We know that sometimes the gaps that are just sort of created by where students are in society, those have not changed. And right down to teacher shortage, the shortage of highly qualified teachers in classrooms, that hasn't changed.
A lot of people are just now talking about the teacher shortage because of, I think, the pandemic and everything that's been unfolding afterwards. But when did this issue start?
So teacher shortage, especially in high need areas that we just talked about, so special education, STEM, and again in rural areas, in urban areas, there's not been a time in my lifetime that has not been the case. I think sometimes it's blurry because people may have their students in a space where they were not touched by the shortage. But there are many areas, obviously across the state and across the country, that have never really seen a time where we've had enough, where there's been enough highly qualified teachers to go around. I think in the case of COVID and the mass exit of teachers from the profession, and the aftermath of that, and definitely the climate that we are seeing now, we're seeing that at even greater rates. Because it's just dwindling. But honestly, it's been decades. If you talk to teacher prep, they'll tell you their enrollment in programs has been dipping for decades as well.
Why is this happening right now?
Yeah. So the diminished interest in teaching, again, it's been going on for decades. And some of the issues we can kind of point to that are very obvious. Like one, I think PDK did a poll in 2018, and it was released, and it talked about how that was the first year that over 54% of parents were actively discouraging their children from being teachers. 2019, which again, both of these polls came out before COVID, that was the year that the PDK poll noted that teachers were actively discouraging students from becoming teachers. So that's just sort of anecdotal. If you talk to students who are incredibly talented and ask them their views on being a teacher, they've probably been told at least once, don't be a teacher, you're wasting your talents, you're too good to be a teacher. So some of that's very obvious. Like we have been actively discouraging people from entering the profession or filtering them into other fields that don't have nearly the demand as we do in teaching.
How does that affect children though? If we don't have as many teachers and people are being discouraged to be teachers, where does that leave them?
It leaves them without an education, without a consistent means to understand the needs that the world has, and the understanding that they are the solutions to the problems. And I think if you don't have a consistent, experienced teacher who has the skills and the knowledge to help children reach their potential and become aware of the problems and become aware of the opportunities, then we're missing out on generations, I think, of students who will never understand how much we needed them to step up and step into the light and become a part of the world.
Where do we go from here? What are the solutions?
So just understanding that we would have more teachers if we wouldn't have as many barriers to people accessing, being able to step up to bat. We've taken some strides in Louisiana with that by eliminating like Praxis 1, Praxis Core, because that's a direct result of your K-12 education. If you have trouble passing sort of this basic thing, this basic test, that's a reflection on what did we do to teach you to get you ready for that. And so I think we started to realize it was a double tax. Like you can't be a part of the solution because there's this test here that bars you from entering the game. So I think the more we start to look at that, there are way more people who I think would be amazing teachers, but we also have forces that are sort of making it very difficult for that. And so I think that a mixture of it, recruiting where we are, understanding just how difficult it is to be a great teacher, like being honest about that, and purposely seeking the best and the brightest, but eliminating a lifetime of debt to invite them in and then to support them and to encourage them and to elevate them once they're in. I think that once we start to do that intentionally and we keep our eye on the prize, then we won't be having this conversation again in 10 years. That's my hope.
Yeah, I mean, it basically just sounds like meeting people where they are, making everything accessible.
Right, which again, a great teacher does in a classroom every day. So there you go.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Transitioning out of prison can be an uphill battle, especially without any support system. Kara met with a former inmate in Araby who opened a thrift store to offer opportunity and hope.
The United States incarcerates more people than any other democratic nation in the world, stirring controversy and turmoil.
It is no exaggeration to say that many people are afraid to be out on the streets at night.
But Louisiana reigns as the capital, beating out all other U.S. states and countries with the largest prison population. But when you have a community so intertwined with mass incarceration, how do they re-enter society when they're released?
Hello. Hi, welcome to Sister Hearts.
I am Kara.
Hi, my name is Miriam Henderson Uloho.
Miriam Henderson Uloho is the founder of Sister Hearts Thrift Store. Looking at her, you can't tell all she's been through.
I was in prison for 12 and a half years, and after I was released from prison, I realized that I was extremely traumatized, that I truly did not feel like I could function in society. And I didn't know what to do. There was no medication, there was no doctor, no therapy, and I didn't know what to do. To be honest with you, being behind bars is a fictitious type of place because you have to learn to survive in an extremely abnormal environment. There's nothing normal about the environment of prison. You are programmed. You're programmed 24 hours a day. And that program is mental and emotional programming where you are desensitized, demoralized, and dehumanized.
In Miriam's experience, coming out of prison is almost as difficult as going in. So she created this place with the intent of easing the transition.
Every item in this store has been discarded. It was discarded by someone, rejected, thrown away. Someone didn't want it anymore. Well, those of us that have been to prison, we have a relationship with all of these items because we too have been rejected, discarded, and thrown away by society and our families. So that's why if you look around, everything is so beautiful and it's neat and it's clean, it's organized, because now we have learned how to take what we call society's trash and convert it into treasures. I use the concept of a thrift store to decarcerate.
The dictionary defines decarceration as the practice or policy of reducing the number of people subject to incarceration. But Miriam defines it as a more holistic approach. To her, it's a way of recalibrating the brain to regain independence, which she provides by letting recently incarcerated people work at the store.
This is a program. Here we focus on mental and emotional. That's our focus. They need to focus on, like for example, color coding. You know, these are all match colors. So let's put these colors together. That's analytical. Then you strategically say, okay, let's put all the skirts here. These are the pants. So you have to use your brain in ways that we were never allowed to use our brains in prison. This is decarceration because we have to use our brain to enhance our lives, something that we're not allowed to do in prison.
Miriam's store has employed over 200 formerly incarcerated people and helped them get back on their feet. Anthony Taylor is just one of them.
Well, I ended up here because I was homeless on the street. I was living in downtown New Orleans, and I was sleeping on a piece of cardboard along the river. And I met a lady one day who I helped out. I did some volunteer work for her, and she invited me to come and meet Miss Miriam. And on that day, I walked in the store and I met Miss Miriam, and she told me a little bit about the program.
Milton McCoy is the most recent employee. He's been out of prison for 2 weeks.
I wasn't intending on looking for them, but I was actually trying to sign up for food stamps on my phone, and I was asked about buying or renting a house, and I said yeah, and I got a call from a broker, and in turn was referred to a real estate agent, and I explained my situation to the real estate agent, and she gave me Miss Miriam's number.
The Sister Hearts program also offers bank account support, driver's license support, and transportation, things people on the outside may take for granted. But to people coming back into society, it's taking their freedom back. Or in Miriam's case, this
is decarceration. And decarceration is reversing the trauma of incarceration. And so at everything that we do, we are in a constant state of decarceration. When I am developing relationships, I am in a state of decarceration because I have to create win-win situations at all times.
You can donate to Sister Hearts Thrift Store by dropping off your items at their location on West Judge Perez Drive. We showed you some of the ugly sides of social media and dating sites in part 1 of our special report about online scammers. But tonight there's more. How scammers are groomed and taught how to rip people off. But there are now some websites offering tons of information that you need to know, especially if you want to wade the waters of online dating.
When I first Googled my name and dating scams, I learned how extensive it was. My pictures used with a fake profile and another name. This was after I began getting emails from women who had already been burned from people using my pictures. Some of the women had already given away thousands of dollars. After our first report on these scams aired, I got several more emails. This woman tells of a 6-month communication with someone using my photos. She gave him $5,000 before she realized what was happening.
I ended up seeing a therapist after what happened to me because I couldn't personally understand how this guy had got me so drawn in and hooked. I mean,
we introduced you to Anna Rowe last week. Her own romance scam ordeal led her to develop the website and blog catchthecatfish.com. It's one of the most comprehensive and educational websites out there. If you're considering the online dating scene, go first to her website, catchthecatfish.com.
They are incredibly clever with their questioning to draw things out of you and to build trust. And for me, unlike when the police, who are now putting educational stuff out there, say they don't offer up any information about themselves, actually, whether it's not necessarily the truth about themselves, but they actually tell you a lot of information about their persona because it draws you in to feel safe to give information back. And that's how mine did it. He offered his vulnerabilities to me first, and then I felt safe to share my vulnerabilities with him. Right. And then that's how he hurt me. You know, he used those back at me. Right. So it's a very clever manipulation that victims go through.
As you have seen, the scams online are extensive. There are even teaching sites for scammers. Let me repeat that. There are teaching sites for scammers. Anna Rowe explains.
The scammers that do this, I actually hide in their groups. So they are openly allowed to have groups on Facebook and other places where they train each other, they ask each other advice for situations they find them in while they're doing this. And
wait. You're saying that the scammers have groups?
Oh, yes. If you go and type into the Facebook search, for example, Yahoo updates, because they're known as Yahoo boys. So if you go and type in Yahoo updates into Facebook, you will find multiple groups, and they are full of scammers. And as much as we report them, they do nothing to take them down. But I hide in those groups, and that's how I've educated myself about them. So there are, I've got the last 4 blogs that are on my website actually are all about them. And that's how I learn about all the tricks that they use, and everything else that goes with it. So there are multiple kinds of scams that they will run through the fake profiles. Sometimes they're phishing for personal information. So over the course of the scam, it might be that they suggest to the victim that they take out a loan. The scammers will have created a complete fake website that looks like a bank with loan forms, and they will send in pictures of their identity, their phone number, their email, their address, and they input that into a system because they think it's going to be a loan. And then they take that information and they use it on the online benefit system in America, for example, to create a claim for unemployment benefit. And I know, I've read, the US has lost billions to fraud, online fraud through the benefits claims.
Here's that website of Anna Rowe, catchthecatfish.com. It's packed with information, articles, blogs, what to do, and examples of what has happened. And still tough to understand in my case, the Instagram copycats, they use a version of my name, Amoro Now. All my information, my resume, pictures, Instagram will take them down, but as quickly as they do, others pop up. So still some education to go there. Hey everyone, that is our show for this week. Remember, you can watch anything LPB anytime, wherever you are, with our LPB PBS app. You can catch LPB News and Public Affairs shows, as well as other Louisiana programs that you've come to enjoy over the years. And please like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. For everyone here at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Morrow. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Every day, I go to work for Entergy.
I know customers are counting on me.
So Entergy is investing millions of dollars
to keep the lights on
and installing new technology
to prevent outages before they happen.
Together,
We power life.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.